He was a very dedicated sniper. He would spend a long time on his gun in sniper overwatch positions. And he would set himself up for some good positions. He would set himself up on some long access positions where he can see 4 or 5 blocks. And meanwhile, like a new guy sniper might see half of an alley. He was very, very good. He was as good as it gets.
How was it working with Chris Kyle?
Great. Yeah. It was great. He was a very dedicated sniper. He was a wise ass. He was funny as hell. He was a shit talker, in like a good team guy way. And he was just a great guy to have in a platoon. Yeah, man. Like you'd see him and Tony looking at imagery for hours, trying to figure out what building would be best, looking at the angles, looking at the distances, looking at the long axis. Like that's what they did. And, you know, he was good, man. He was good. He would spend, you know, a long time on his gun in sniper overwatch positions. And he would set himself up for some good positions. You know what I mean? Like he would set himself up on some long access positions where he can see 4 or 5 blocks. And meanwhile, like a new guy sniper might see half of an alley. Mm-hmm. So, but he earned that position, you know? He earned it with his patience and his discrepancy. Like he was very, very good. He was as good as it gets.
Was he good at passing on wisdom?
Yeah, you know, I'd say I was a little bit out of the line of fire of him passing on wisdom because I wasn't a sniper.
Gotcha.
But you know, he'd pass on some hassling to these new guys. I can tell you that. The funny thing is, you know, he liked to do, this is weird, but he liked to do like pranks, like a grade school kid. Like he would prank people, do funny stuff. Like that's what he's like. So he wasn't the, you know, in the movie they make him out to be like super serious all the time and all this stuff. And he was actually just a funny, great guy to be around that brought a lot of entertainment with him, you know, a lot of entertainment.
Right on.
And we had a good crew of guys that was, you know, that's a SEAL platoon, man. It's a SEAL platoon. I guess there's SEAL platoons where they're not like having fun and ribbing each other and, you know, being brothers. But I was never in a platoon like that. I was always in a platoon that was freaking awesome to hang around. And, you know, when I was a young SEAL, what I do on the weekends, I went to the team. We went to the team on the weekends. Went to the team on Saturday and worked on your gear. Went to the team on Sunday and worked out with your buddies. That's all we did. That's what we did because there wasn't anything else. Mm-hmm. And once I had a family, I had to like at least take a little bit of time. But even then, my family was second to my platoon, to my task unit, to the teams. I would love to tell you that I'm embarrassed to admit that or that that's not the right thing. But when you're in the SEAL teams, I think that is the thing. That is the
fucking way it is, man.
That's the way it is. And you know, God bless my wife who was just like a saint, but she handled the family stuff and I handled the war stuff.
Were you married at this time?
Yep. So going to Ramadi, I had 3 kids at that time.
You had 3 kids.
Yep.
How are you handling how many deployments had you done married with kids or with kids?
2. Well, no, 1. 3. So my oldest daughter was born the day before I went on the strike deployment at Team 2. She was born and I left. Never changed a diaper. And then while I was in college, I had 2 more kids because I was home. And then, and yeah, I mean, I was in the SEAL teams, man. Like we go on deployment, mm-hmm. We go to war, and you want to be with your kids, but you're not going to be with your kids in the SEAL teams. Mm-hmm. It's not a good family environment. Now, if you have a strong family, you know, men have been going, you know, on some form of deployment since the beginning of time.
You said this at breakfast, and I fucking love this.
I mean, because I hear sometimes people like, oh, the father's got to be around. But like, I wasn't around, and a lot of dads weren't around, and they raised some awesome kids. And so, yeah, guys have been going on the hunt, on the sea voyage, on the crusade, whatever you're going on. Men have been going on that stuff for a long time, and the kids understand that, and the moms understand it, and they raise warriors.
How long have you been married?
I think 28 years.
What is the secret to a successful marriage?
There's a couple, but number one is marry like a pretty awesome woman. And then, just apply the principles of leadership to your marriage. It's the same principles that you want your wife to listen to you, you better listen to her. You want your wife to trust you, you better trust her. You want your wife to respect you, you better treat her with respect. You want your wife to care about you, you better care about her. If something goes wrong, you better take ownership. So that's worked out great for me. And my wife's a saint. My wife's a saint.
I'm sure she is.
When you were asking me about the pressure of my first deployment to Iraq, and I told you that I didn't really feel this, wasn't the idea of someone getting wounded or killed was kind of a little bit of a distant thing in the back of my mind. And in Ramadi, it was front of mind. And when you see that many casualties happening, like on a daily basis, the odds are going to catch you. And of course, am I fatalistic? Because that was my thought process? Maybe. But it was also just numbers, man. It was just the numbers. You just look at the numbers. And every day, every time you leave the wire, there is a chance. And so it's a daily basis. And listen, the Army and the Marine Corps are just making the most incredible sacrifices. You see it. You go to their memorials. You hear it on the radio. That's one thing that was, you'd hear it on the radios. You'd hear, hey, there's 1 KIA heading back to Camp Ramadi, or 3 wounded, heading to Charlie Med. Like, you would hear these things. It's just constant.
This is daily.
Daily. So, and, I try and give as much admiration to the Army and the Marine Corps, who fought so hard in such terrible conditions. And that's what they were facing every day, and that's what we were facing. And we had the blue on blue happen almost pretty quickly thereafter. Cowie got wounded bad. And, Cowie's just a stud. And he's in Charlie Med. He's all doped up on morphine. The doc pulls me aside and he's like, hey, I don't know if his leg's going to make it. Roger. And Cowie, I bend over to hold his hand, and he's like, the first thing's out of his mouth, let me stay.
Damn.
So that's the kind of guys you got, let me stay.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.